That one.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وكذلك جعلناكم أمة وسطا لتكونوا شهداء على الناس ويكون الرسول عليكم شهيدا وما جعلنا القبلة التي كنت عليها إلا لنعلم من يتبع الرسول ممن ينقلب على عقبيه وإن كانت لكبيرة إلا على الذين هدى الله وما كان الله ليضيع إيمانكم إن الله بالناس لرؤوف رحيم صدق الله العظيم.
Bismillah. This verse has three important messages. First, it defines Ummata Wasata, that's us, right? That's the righteous group. It's not quote unquote Muslim, it's the righteous group. What is the word Asata? People translate it as middle path and all this, and many people confuse that as not extremist. For them, Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is an extremist, and Abu Jahl is another extremist, so we have to follow the middle path, which is average between Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Abu Jahl. But that's not it. It's literal scientific meaning is the balanced.
And the instance of that can be Abu Talib.
Yes, it cannot be anything else. It has to be the stable one. Remember the path in the middle? It doesn't change. The steady path. The balanced part. What is the notion of balance? You cannot topple it. It doesn't fall off. That is stable. That's the Siratul Mustaqim. Exactly the same similar meaning. Mustaqim it is on a steady foot. It cannot wobble. Next one is Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is an evidence for us. He's the witness. So you have heard the term evidence-based science, haven't you? They always brag about, oh, this is religion and this is evidence-based science. Yeah. Evidence scientifically only comes from Allah and the Prophet. There's a hadith that says, Prophet has asked, the action of Sahaba, they are all praiseworthy, admirable, but is that an evidence? Prophet said no. It really scientifically makes sense. Evidence is only Allah and Quran, the visible ayah, visible sign, and living Quran, which is Prophet. Nobody else is living Quran. Shia people believe that was Ali, another one, and that's where the problem starts. You cannot have more than 2 points.
The point is, sorry to interrupt. I was listening to tafsir of this ayah. One of Afghan Mufassir by name of Maulana Abdul Subur. He was saying that evidence means that, as you pointed out, living according to Quran.
That's right.
So that's the point he was trying to he was making, and he brought up an instance where in Karachi, Pakistan, some has converted to Islam. Then the people who gave them shahada brought him to masjid, and in masjid, the person who was newly converted to Islam saw caps which were locked with chains. Caps which were locked with chains. The newly converted person saw why it's chained? Why it's locked with chains?
Yes.
Then the people said that it belongs to masjid and
They will
it's
steal it.
chained, locked, because people steal it.
Yeah.
Then the person said, "Oh, see,
In our temple,
None-
we do not have that.
it's just Muslims come to masjid, offer prayer. Rarely non-Muslims come to masjid.
Right.
So what type of religion is that? If people even steal from the masjid and small things, which cost very little, like cups,
Yeah.
cups of water. So what type of religion is this? So
But that's exactly why you have to have that notion that evidence is not anybody else. Even Sahaba are not. And that's in Hadith. I have traveled all across the world, visited many temples and churches. I have never seen sandals and shoes being stolen. The provision that you have to take inside, otherwise somebody is going to steal, does not exist. Even in Thailand, even among Buddhists, they live outside, no problem. So this is why I keep giving reference to the fact that they are out of 73 groups, only one group will be righteous. So what is the chance that a random mosque will be righteous? It doesn't exist. So it's very important to have the notion. The third point here is Allah uses the word Rauf. Remember we talked about
Yeah,
it?
of course.
Allah is Rauf only to good guys. Allah is Rahim, Rahman for everybody.
yeah,
But Rauf
Good.
is a different notion.
yeah. Before in Quran, you pointed
Yes.
in the previous lecture also that before Rauf, there were some conditions,
Yes.
like type of conditions that the ones who do this and that.
It's like I consider that I use that notion of father's love.
Yeah, yeah.
Father is not like mother. Mother loves everybody, even a bad child.
Yeah.
She prays for everybody.
Mhm.
Father is very hard.
He does the ones
Who is good guys.
yeah.
And who love him.
And that's why father's dua is accepted. Because father does not make dua just randomly. Mother does dua for everybody.
Means father's love implies
The guy is good.
The guy's goodness.
Yes. So when Allah says Rauf, that's a very big blessing. Because it doesn't come easy. So with that,
So sorry, I'm trying to ask some question here. As you pointed out that evidence is a lot on Quran and Hadith
Sure.
and the Prophet, peace be upon him.
Uh-huh.
But one can ask questions that when it comes to what's called dollars, what you call dollar signs.
Yes.
Otherwise,
Yes,
other
yes.
people don't. What's called dollar signs. So when it comes to natural phenomenon,
Yes.
so natural phenomenon.
Yeah.
So
Remember we talked about natural phenomena are also evidence. They are ayah.
yeah,
Evidence is ayah. Natural phenomena are, but not artificial phenomena.
Yeah, but when we express natural phenomena in terms of mathematics and laws and all those
Then
things,
it becomes corrupt.
yeah, then it becomes corrupt.
Exactly.
So one can raise questions that so how we can cross check all the things, nature itself is
How do we-
complicated.
Yes, how do you analyze? Which science do you analyze with? And that's why we show, this is from last week, right? This is from last week. That's why I keep repeating, you cannot analyze with Newtonian mathematics or quantum mechanics or any false process.
But even we can analyze or assess Newton laws itself with with Hadith and Quran, isn't it?
No.
Can't we?
Newton's law is not a starting point. What I'm saying is Newton's law cannot be used to interpret reality. And that's the problem what happened with Big Bang Theory, for instance. They said, oh, mashallah, with Stephen Hawking, we can analyze Quran. False.
But,
This is what I'm showing here. You can start with Quran,
yeah.
but your analysis process does not have hadith. It has Newton's law, Einstein's theory. Boom, your conclusion is false.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The starting point is Quran and Hadith. In the second, as you always pointed out that,
Minor
we
premise.
see, we can see the verses of Quran in context of the mirror of Hadith,
Yes,
isn't it?
yes.
So the starting point can be Quran, but so then how we proceed?
This is the thing. This is the thing. You cannot. We know that we cannot proceed with anything falsehood, and that's why this is the one. This is for deductive logic, right? Theoretical work.
So when it comes to Newton's first law,
We're not analyzing Newton's first law. We are analyzing. You see, Newton saw the apple fall, right? That's the natural phenomenon.
Oh, but if we have the will to deconstruct and disprove Newton's first law, then we need.
No, we do not need anything. Newton's first law will collapse with simple logic. We do not need Quran. With
We do not need Quran?
No.
That's
By
what I was
contradiction.
trying to understand.
Yes. The deconstruction is very easy.
Uh,
And that we learn from Quran. Quran always says, isn't that logical? What kind of logic you have? Somebody who you created, you are worshipping them. So that deconstruction is very easy because it's falsehood. When Newton's law says, if it is at a steady state, then it will stay at a steady state. Boom, right away you said, what is on a steady state, man? There's nothing. So what are you talking about?
So it means that we get
Their
instructions from
argument,
Quran. We get
their argument and show is fallacy. It has no meaning. And in the justice system, legal system, that's what you do. Somebody is lying, you show the contradiction between his lies, right? And say, real evidence. See, if it's false, what does it mean? It's against something that is evidence, against truth. Truth is, look around, there is nothing at a steady state. Everything is moving, right? And you are saying if it stays at a steady state, it will remain at a steady state.
So from which point of Hadith and Quran we can say that an object cannot be at a steady state?
I never took that through a class. A steady state is Allah's quality, constant.
Yeah, so, yeah.
See, it's from Surah class. Qul Allah Samad. Samad. If you look at the real meaning of Samad, that's the one. And that's why Allah is the only one that cannot be touched. If something is at a steady state, can you move it? No way.
But here, steady state, we mean it is not moving. We don't, consider steady state in that terms or in that meaning.
Steady state means something that's not function of time. You see the point? Scientifically, it's not a function of time.
But Newton considered a steady state as it's not moving. That's what he means.
No, let's not interpret it. Let's not find excuse for Newton, right? literally he removed the term time t. That's why, that's the problem with viscosity and everything else. He removed the time function. For him, it's not a function of time. Einstein's most important contribution is a function of time. But which time? That's another issue. So if you first take, there is nothing at a steady state. Right? Let's not interpret what he means, because somebody says something, you cannot use his logic to justify it. You have to say, what is it contrary to? In nature, everything is moving. We did not know, where he got his idea from? For him, Bible was the reference. And in Bible, earth was a steady state. Quran doesn't say that. Quran says even the sun is running. In Surah Yasin, verse 40, sun is running. Now we know that everything is moving. As a matter of fact, sun is moving faster than earth, and galaxy is moving faster than sun, and the whole universe, so-called first sky, is moving faster than the galaxy.
But on the object relative
There's
relative to Earth unmoving?
There is nothing relative, because everything is moving at a speed not in uniform. See, if you have two things going at the same speed, then relative to each other, there is steady state. Isn't it what we are told?
Mm.
But it's impossible for any two objects to travel at the constant speed. Also, that's another absurdity. That's why the second one comes, is that anything in uniform motion will stay in uniform motion. There is nothing in uniform motion. They used to think the sun moves with uniform motion. Then they used to think earth moves with uniform motion. None is true.
Even Earth is not
no.
moving.
This is the problem, Sanagu. Bad guys are doing research. As late as 2005, they discovered the time taken by the Earth is not same. And NASA observed that for 4 years. They did not tell anybody.
So it means that there is acceleration or deceleration.
Oh, that's what they're trying to figure out. Then they found out it's not the same. On 5th year, they reported it was different. But we're sitting there saying whatever NASA says is truth. That's the problem. We cannot take anything that they say as truth. That's not evidence. But it becomes very clear that condition that is steady state, condition that uniform motion, they are both absurd. There's nothing. Then third condition, unless there is an external force, there is nothing external. Everything is internal. Where does that come from? From continuity. Is there any vacuum in space? It's absurd. You cannot have vacuum.
Sir, the idea of challenging this Western science or dollar science, I acknowledge even last night with my friend that I personally didn't have this idea to challenge and go through all the intricacies. What I'm trying to make is that I like this idea and concept, and to get to its intricacies, one can once previously I have asked these questions that what make me wonder is that if all these theories and literature and laws were based on illogical assumptions, so how they could make
we have done
types
that
of this technology based on
we have done that many times. right? We have done that many times. We have made this argument many times. The end product does not mean anything. As a matter of fact, one of my students, possibly my brightest student, told me that, but Dr. Islam, if there was no concrete, see, I was teaching that concrete, the cement, is not really sustainable. Right? Imagine the best PhD student in Canada telling me, but Dr. Islam, without concrete, we would not have this building. I said, what are you saying?
Yeah, so that type of,
You see,
Christian
without
can
concrete,
be-
we would not have buildings. Is it true? It's exactly opposite to true. High rises do not depend on concrete. They depend on the structure. So invention of concrete made it difficult. Remember, in old days, the maximum height you could have like 10 stories. High rise, which was a Bangladeshi architect, Chicago Tower, he developed the technology. There are books on his name. High rises are built on the principle that do not depend on concrete. It could be plastic. It could depend on the structure.
and the structure
So
can
concrete made it impossible for 50 years to get high rises. This is exactly opposite. So when I reminded him that, he said, Subhanallah, he did not think. So what happens with us, we get fascinated. More educated we are, more fascinated we are. So for you, I tell you, the technology that we had in mummies, technology that we had in pyramids, they do not exist today. So are you not ready to admit that they were better than us without Newton? Taj Mahal does not exist today. Taj Mahal was not built with Newtons. The technology that Prophet Sulaiman had, technology that Dawood had, we do not have anything close. Samud used to cut rocks. Can you cut rock today? Even with laser? You can pulverize, but you cannot cut sharply. Doesn't work. With laser, it just goes little bit inside. We do not have to.
And those were God-given capabilities.
That's the point. So they were better. Every prophet came with the best technology. We made a mess. Last 400 years is nothing compared to 1,000. We don't even know. But if we think like concrete, if we think that this is why we have this thing, we'll never invent anything new. And that's why I showed this picture, remember? If you believe this is the correct history because Newton gave it, we would not have this study.
Yeah.
How old is this study? 22. It's now. And why do they do this study? Because they want to make money. So you are sitting in Afghanistan, you are happy with this, and those bad guys are making money. Because they did not believe Newton, and we are believing in Newton. The same with my students' work. We discovered that by having the accurate representation, having the time added to viscosity, we can, the accuracy goes up by 10%, meaning if you are producing, if your reserve is 1 billion barrel, it would be 100 million barrel more. Imagine the money. And if you believe Newton was correct, nothing would happen. You would not even know what you have. I remember somebody asked me, what is the first thing to do? I said, find out what you have. But how can you find out what you have when you do not have the tool? So you have to rely on what America is studying, what China is studying. China is going to study with Newtons. America is not going to study, give you the latest technology. They will study with software packages, the easy ones. So same principle goes in everywhere. So it's not a matter of convincing your colleague. First we have to convince ourselves. We get very easily swayed, right? And then we start to talk to, it's very common. You get excited, then you start to talk to people, they say, oh, this is crazy, man, what are you saying? It's not your job. Because you can bring Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will calm down, still their mind will not change. Because their first principle is messed up. And that's why he did so much. Remember, for a whole month, actually 1.5 months, for 6 weeks, we talked about fundamental. Prophet's half time he talked about fundamental. So now we're talking economics. Just about today we'll finish the economics part. The main principle here is Quran is the basis for deductive logic. Deductive is deduced, deduced is Iqra. You can look it up, deductive is the theoretical. You don't look at evidence, you do not look at, only evidence you look at is Quran, the readable evidence, not what is going on.
Can we say to deductive logic ijtihad?
Ijtihad is both. Ijtihad is inductive logic. But logic in general is ilm, right? It's a science. But for both, you have to have evidence. If it's not based on evidence, and that's why I said Newton's law is not based on evidence. There's no evidence. Evidence is Quran. Big Bang Theory has no evidence. Can anybody say that where did he find it was created 1400 years ago? Who told him that it was a dense matter with a zero volume? What is the logic? Think about it. Zero volume and infinite mass. Think about the logic. Do you need Quran to tell you that this is falsehood? Zero volume and infinite mass. That was the beginning. And they call it nothing. You don't need Quran. You just simply say, this is the fundamentally logical thing. Then they say it blew up. No word about how it blew up. Then it became full of hydrogen. Isn't that the law? Isn't that the theory? Big Bang Theory? Full of hydrogen. Who told you? Today, do you have any hydrogen floating around? Do you know any place where pure hydrogen is floating around? Doesn't exist. Even today. That's not enough. Then hydrogen became helium. Then somehow it formed other gases. Is there any evidence today where atoms get together and become molecules and different molecules form? Different atoms form. Same theory they use for evolution. Single cell, it became amoeba, it became bacteria, then it became algae, then slowly it became fish, then slowly fish became amphibian, then monkey, and all the way to human. You see the logic? Exactly same logic. Has zero evidence. Today, there is not a single species that evolved from something else. Bacteria, you know what is the time of bacteria? Few hours, they're dead. Their cycle is few hours. So if you think a bacteria is allowed to recycle 1,000 times, anything changes about the bacteria? You think that evolution theory, if it is correct, with many thousand cycles, it will become another type of bacteria. It doesn't. If it did, that we would call evidence-based. Zero evidence. It's all false-based. And that's why if it is not Quran, and if it's not nature, it's not evidence. But that's not enough. Second point, hadith has to be there to interpret. It cannot be Einstein's law. It cannot be Newton's theory, because Newton also observed the apple falling. It didn't help him, because he assumed that there is gravity. In Quran, the gravity doesn't exist. We talked about that in context of, I think, Surah Baqarah, verse 75 or something like that. So, back to the concrete example. Because of these theories, it has stopped us last 400 years to find the truth. Result, every technology that was created in the last 300 some years, every technology is unsustainable. Who is telling that? Bad guys themselves telling you. They call it technological disaster. And we are here to change that. We said it's not okay for us to accept unsustainable technology, because scientifically, unsustainable means not halal. Why? Because scientific meaning of halal is sustainable. So no, we're not going to accept your technology because it's not conforming to my Islam. So what? Last 300 years you were in a mess. You are yourself saying it's a mess. The guys who are talking, crying for sustainable technology, they are also saying that problem of humanity's population. We showed that example, and in the first page of UN, they show Afghanistan as an example why humanity should have less population. After killing, what, million people?
Yeah.
They are saying it's not enough. Biggest problem of Afghanistan is population. Now biggest problem of Afghanistan is women's education, apparently. Same people who are killing and raping Palestinian women are now crying for Afghan women. So that goes for evidence-based deductive logic. Another point. You see this model, this is the Ijtihad model, right? In the triangle there. Decision is what in Arabic? Hukum.
Praise Allah.
Who is only entity that can give hukum?
No.
Inil hukma illa
In hukmu illa lillah.
lillah. Doesn't exist. So all those decisions made through the other ones are falsehood. That's why we had the little discussion about shirk. If you believe that somebody else can give hukum, you are violating Allah's trait. Allah reserves that for him.
So the rules which are in dollar signs.
Yes.
So can we consider them hukum?
No, they are not. They molested the science. They replaced Aeon with Jahiliyyah.
No, what I mean is that if we accept Newton laws, for example,
Then you have decided already.
then
See, decision comes first.
do we accept? Have we accepted their hukums, which were?
If we accept, that means we have taken them as ilah. If we accept that Taj Mahal laws, the building must use Newtonian law, if building cannot be made without concrete or their formula, or a drone cannot fly without Bernoulli's equation, we have taken that model. And what will that do? That's why I keep showing that same graph that will prevent you from getting the actual equation. See, Rafiq Islam sitting there without, I'm not a mujahid, I'm not a son of a mujahid, sitting there, deconstructing all of this. I replaced I did not start talking unless I found the solution. I have deconstructed economics, I have deconstructed mathematics, on every subject I have written books. I have deconstructed their education system and replaced all of them. So I don't say, oh, Newton's law is terrible. I have chapters on showing what is the correct formulation. And that's why I gave you the books. I even pointed out where to look for them.
So even mathematical formula is there?
I have 4 books on mathematics.
For Newton law's alternative.
Of course there is.
There
You
is.
should look it up. I'll give you the exact page. Even in zeroist, the actual formulation is there.
So it can be applied in.
That's right. So when I wrote books on computer science, the mathematical, this is the correct formulation. We call it knowledge modeling, not falsehood modeling, knowledge modeling, based on this model. And I have on paper on the meaningful zero, another paper on meaningful infinity. Those are published in Australia. So every word I'm saying, criticizing them, I have given them the replacement. In the West, it's very common. Everybody talks about everything is bad. It's very fashionable. But nobody gives the actual solution. They know it's a mess. But actual solution nobody gives. That I have made. And that's why when I say, it's not difficult, I mean it. Because just one person could do it. And I was not a mujahid or son of a mujahid. You have much better qualification than I do.
No, we don't, sir.
No, indeed. Because closeness to Allah is the most important part. Right? So, you're far more qualified, you are much younger, and you're getting this information. I had to get this information with a lot of struggle, with trial and error. Right? If that event in Libya, when at that time the CEO of oil company did not come to me and told me to study Quran, I would be happily sitting in Canada writing another 400 papers on falsehood. I would not know. But these events happen for a reason. So that goes for deductive logic. For inductive logic, Quran is the readable ayah, replaced by natural, visible ayah. This is not a lab test. It's not a control experiment. It's what happens. So yesterday, Atira Salahuddin was saying that, how about experiment? How about missile launch or a drone flight? Is that a controlled experiment? When you are flying outdoor. Wind tunnel. Is this controlled experiment? No. It's natural. You're not controlling anything. Right? So that's the principle of inductive logic. But there again, it's very important. The hadith has to be the second point.
So there is one pillar, one big pillar, and you might have known that. Every day, not every day, 3 days in every week there is test, drone
Yes.
test.
Yes.
But lots of failures are happening there.
Yes.
So how we can address this problem?
Failure, you're saying?
Yeah,
Just
failure.
become fair.
Yes.
Yeah. Drones are collapsing, even
Yes.
The research is there. And just for this reason, to address this problem.
Yeah.
But one can
See,
say that...
Two things. Number one, failure teaches you more than success. Take it. Failure teaches you more.
yeah.
Number two, failure cannot be corrected using the same. Who said that? Einstein himself.
But the elders have.
You see, failure happened because of the failure of the theory that you have used to design the model. So you cannot go back and interpret and use the same theory. Einstein said a very nice word. He said, the process that got you in trouble you cannot get out of the trouble without with following the same process.
So fortunately or unfortunately, these theories are not used. Believe me, the projects which have been completed till date are not based on Bernoulli's theories. These are the people who just watched the videos and all those things and came here and
That's
they were
fine.
doing the project.
Their evidence is
Now the administration is trying to utilize those literatures and theories to rectify
That's
the
a
problems.
beautiful example, beautiful statement you made. Their evidence is not even Bernoulli's theory. Their evidence is not even Einstein's and Newton's.
Exactly.
Their evidence is what they saw. How was that built?
So of course based on
Same.
Bernoulli theory.
It's actually worse because we do not even know. You see, this is the problem. When you're copying somebody other than Prophet Muhammad, you're in trouble.
But why they are not in trouble? They are copying each other. They are utilizing these theories, and they are successful in this type
That's
of
why I
thing.
said they do research. Sorry. The paper I showed, they do the research because they want to make money. So you ask them, how did you do it? They say, aha, give me a contract. I'll teach you. Remember I said last week, the problem of third world, you are not worshipping money, you are worshipping America. America is worshipping money. Who is better? Who is less worse? America is less. Because they know what they are worshipping. You don't even know what you are worshipping. So you cannot take those videos as ilah. They are not your evidence. They are neither of them. Creativity, and I posted that, creativity comes from Allah, the creator, only creator. I had many instances and I stunned people when I asked them, what's the first thing you do? You have a research project, right? Your boss gave you a research project. What's the first thing you do? Invariably they said, if it is familiar, then of course I said, imagine it's not familiar to you. It's a new project. I give a specific example.
Do you review literature?
You review literature, right? The first thing.
Yeah.
Say, I will Google and find.
Yeah.
I said, did you
studying
find anything?
something?
Very good Muslim. Very good Muslim. I'm interviewing them over the internet. Very good Muslim. Of course, would Google search and see you forgot something. First thing you do is make dua. Because knowledge comes from Allah. That nobody does. We're good guys. Say, subhanallah, I forgot. As interviewing, I might have mentioned that a guy from Pakistan, a pharmacist who wanted to come here, first thing I asked, what is your favorite chemical? I'm asking you, what is your favorite chemical?
Chemical.
Yeah. What is your favorite chemical?
Favorite chemical?
Favorite chemical.
Yeah, chemical. Maybe yogurt.
Gold.
Yeah. Huh?
Gold.
World?
Gold. Gold.
Gold. That's a good one. MashaAllah. Ibn Israel. Yeah, you see,
Yogurt.
you think food, right?
Yeah.
I would say we should, deductive logic wise, it should be water because every water is first creation and every life came from water, right? But what you know what he said? This is what happens if you have knowledge of the dollar signs. It's a sulfur. I said, whoa, like I was not expecting because he's a pharmacist, so he wants to sound sophisticated. I said, okay, you have two types of sulfur. Sulfur from the mountain and sulfur from the pharmacy. Which one would you buy? So of course from the pharmacy. You see how logic works? So why? This is purified. Olive oil. Which one would you buy? Refined olive oil or virgin oil? Olive oil. So of course refined. Which one costs more?
Original.
Refined one in Pakistan. Virgin one is apparently. Because virgin one even a villager can make. I say in Canada, virgin oil is 3 times more expensive. So, I didn't know. Then I said, why is refined product harmful? So, because of the amount. See, another theory that West teaches, because it's the amount. So who told you that? So that's what we learn. What amount of, is alcohol good or bad? So alcohol has good and bad both, but in a small amount it's actually beneficial. He's reading from what he learned. Who taught that? The West. Until last 10 years they were saying that a small amount, 1 glass of wine, red wine is good for your heart every day. I said, but Prophet called it a disease. Oh, that's religion. You see how Shaitan misleads people? That's religion. So, whole theory based on what you have learned from Shaitan, and anything that contradicts, that's religion. So what is the assumption? Religion doesn't count as real science. So religion becomes no-el, and Shaitanic el becomes real el. Of course, we did not hire the guy, but this is so common.
But in our case, we neither know what religion has instructed, nor what is in dollar signs. That is why we are facing with
this is a
pillars,
common.
drone pillars.
See, that guy that I talked about, he was saying things that are not true in the West.